So I thought I would show off kind of my CD binder that I used a lot when I was in high school, and even some like the past when I was in my mid to later 20s. I still use this and had it on my car. This is the exact CD book that I think my parents or my mom or someone, my parents, my dad, whoever, got this for me back in like 2003. Of course, the stickers came in the 2010s. All these stickers you'll see on here, of things I got from pre-orders and various you know inserts into packages and just plain out fandoms of bands that I just ordered the stickers and just put them on here. Or I just pulled them off like the cover of the shrink wrap. I tend to buy all my CDs sealed, and I rip them to my computer. So that's going to come into effect. I just zipped it up. I was going to show some off, but I have a lot of burnt CDs in here, and yes, I did purchase all these and rip them to FLAC to my computer back in the day. I still kind of do it. I still have an old school computer, but I just kind of wanted to show off some of this stuff just because I'm bored. And yeah, it's what I got here. So I have the Bouncing Souls gold record. I think I'll just talk about this stuff randomly. Anyways, the gold record by the Bouncing Souls. I'm crisscrossing my wires too much here. I really do like this album, and I burnt this one for a reason because there's a lot of like bangers on it. Basically, I really like Lean on Sheena. I know it's a cover, but I think they do it really better than Avoid One Thing. No offense to Avoid One Thing. I think they're pretty good in their own right. I do like Letter from Iraq too. Very energetic song. Very reminiscent of the politics and the Bush era of the time. Various other songs in here are pretty, just pretty good, pretty relaxing, pretty emotional, I guess, like the Pizza song. And I do like the Gold song a lot too. The first song, very, very good. You can tell a lot about an album by how it kicks off. Over here we got Blink-182's Neighborhoods. Very underrated album, often deemed as one of their worst, but I personally really like this album. It's gotten better over time, personally for me, because I feel like Blink at this point were growing with their audience. I feel like they regressed a lot with the Matt Skiba era with California 9, but I felt like Blink was growing with their audience here, kind of. And I felt like it kind of speaks to me now, especially as kind of a lonelier later 30s male, I guess you could say. Of course, this is Blink's Enema of the State. Nothing needs to be said about that. My favorite song on this, I anymore has been Mutt, because I feel like I heard the demo version of it before, and I always found that one with Scott to be a little more dude ranchy, which I kind of like that. And it was interesting hearing him play on a song like on this album that was meant for Enema of the State, but sounds like dude ranch. Very interesting sound. That's just a side note here. This is Riverdale's Invasion USA. Now, I really like this album a lot. Very hard to find and out of print for the physical collectors, but it's basically it's Ben Weasel, a Screeching Weasel, and Dan Vapid, of course, and they make this album that is, very it's an album of pop punk, but the titles are all Mystery Science Theater 3000, and it just really kind of to that bad movie nerd in me, it really kind of speaks to me. I don't know what else I can say about this. Some of the stuff I haven't listened to in a while. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I'm just showing my book. Now, Alkaline Trio Crimson, that album to me is always, that's kind of my favorite by them and their most consistent. I know it's kind of very, some people might say overproduced and very grand, but I always liked it. I remember actually, like, this is one of those albums that I hated at first. Like, I remember hearing Burn a lot when I was younger, and hating it profusely, but actually that album has grown to be their most consistent to me. And let's move on to the next one. The Dickies' Second Coming. Sorry if I'm rambling here. This album I love a lot. This is actually the 2007 deluxe edition with the Killer Clowns EP on it. And I do own all these. I have purchased all of these before, so in case you're thinking I'm just some pirate, guess again. But this album to me, I don't know, it's always been like my favorite Dickies album. It kind of reminds me of like the Ramones' Brain Drain a little bit, where it's kind of darker and more ominous. And it's also from, I guess, 1989 as well, so it's kind of got that. It's just darker. It's not well known because, as some of like the other earlier stuff like Incredible Shrinking and Dawn of the Dickies, but I've always kind of personally preferred this one. I really like the song Caligula. It's really just dark and brooding. And of course the Killer Clowns song and stuff like Booby Trap and Magumba. I like those songs a lot. AFI's Burials. Now I'm a deluxe edition guy, so this is that Best Buy edition with those weird remixes on it. It's an interesting album. Sounds a lot like kind of like somewhat like more like Black Audio and somewhat industrial-ish in sounding. Like I can tell if they were very inspired by V&V Nation anymore, like that future pop sound. My favorite song on this is 17 Crimes. Really enjoyable. I like the album a lot too. So, not my favorite, but it's pretty good. Now this isn't punk, but it's an album that I kind of like. Moby Play from 1999. Not a huge Moby fan, but this album is very he just can hit those emotional chords with some of the samples he chooses. Of course, you gotta like the song South Side, but I also like I like some of the soulful stuff he does on this. And I really like that song Machete too. I'm just I like some techno here and there, but it's good. It's classic. Now this one is The Holy Mess. I don't know how to say that. I'll just kind of pronounce it. Conde Rue La Dega from 2012. Now this is kind of a Red Scare band, not as well known as the others. I like this one a lot though. It's kind of very much like very much like a Red Scare Core band. If you catch my drift, I recommend this one if you can. I would buy the CD. Small band, support them. This is Matt Skiba and the Secrets, Babylon. I just kind of abbreviated his name, obviously. I actually kind of enjoy this. It's very much like I can see why Blink-182 went with him when Tom left. It's very poppy, very just, I actually kind of like this more than some of the Alkaline Trio stuff. This album in particular. The song Voices is pretty good. There's a lot of interesting sounds on here. I recommend it. Banner Pilot Resignation Day. I really enjoy this one too. This is more Ordcore in the vein of The Holy Mess. This is of course the remastered edition on Fat Wreck. Of course, if you're going to listen to this, I would recommend buying it off of them. I like supporting smaller bands. Even if I do burn them, I just don't like to destroy my CDs. And some of them I honestly have sold over the years, but I always try to burn some of my digital musics to have it physically, but I have purchased it all. So I recommend this band a lot. A lot of energy, a lot of warm lyrics and warm quotable lyrics and warm guitar sounds. Very gritty. It's very much like Dillinger 4 a little bit, kind of. I think they're both from Minnesota too, but anyways. Against Me, Searching for a Former Clarity. This album, I really like this one a lot too. I know, of course I like them because I burnt them, but it's a classic to me. It reminds me of being in college a lot, and it's always been kind of a fun album for me. It's again, as a grower, it sounded like a bunch of convoluted mess when I first listened to it back in the day, but now I can tell that it's, it's one of those growers basically, not as in your face as is reinventing Axl Rose or Eternal Cowboy, but I would put it right up there with those ones. And Dear Landlord, Dream Homes, another one that's rare and out of print if you're talking about physical realms. This is essentially the copyrights, but a little grittier. I don't know the other bands that are in this, the members that are in this. The one called Rivet Head, I have not listened to them, but this is one of my favorite albums from 2009, Dream Homes from Dear Landlord. Highly recommend that album if you can. Very energetic, like the copyrights. Teenage Bottle Rocket Freak Out. Now this to me was their this is their last album that I would consider like extremely strong. No offense to them. I still think their albums from Tales from Wyoming on to present are really good. But this one right here is pure energy. Not as good as some of the stuff before it. Like my favorite will be Total and They Came from the Shadows. But this one it might be third or fourth in my book of their stuff. Definitely check that out, or anything by Teenage Bottle Rocket. Fucked Up Glass Boys. I remember I would buy a lot of albums like this because I would go to the record store a lot back around this time, 2014, and the guys there would recommend stuff to me. And so I have a lot of these albums here, like this one too, Timeshare's Already Dead, that I have not delved into a lot. But with Glass Boys, I really like some of these songs in here. It's very much like Husker Du. I like the song Sunglass quite a bit. It's very hardcore-ish. I'm not a genre guy, so it sounds like it could be a modern take on like an SST Records alternative band, kind of like Husker Du, I guess. I already said that, but Squirt Gun Fade to Bright. This one is kind of very almost nostalgic for me. There's this weird thing I have where you can listen. I did not listen to this album until probably like 10 years after 2013, 10 years after it was released, and it still made me feel like, a kid in like the early 2000s, late 90s. And I think that's a good thing with music, despite the fact that some of the songs were about like, relationships. It was very like relationships and kind of hardships a little bit. I feel like it still kind of, speaks to sort of like some childhood innocence. I don't know. The pop punk just does that to me. And as of now, this is the last album I have in here. I could probably burn more CDs since I still use this quite a bit in the office that I work at. But this is Killing Joke Democracy. And again, a departure from some of the punk you see here. But I really do enjoy this album a lot. I know it's one of their like lesser known albums, but I feel like it kind of reminds me of just something that's like very, very much like The Cult a little bit. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe it's because like the Native American influence they have on here. But this is definitely an enjoyable album, as are all of Killing Jokes. But I chose this one because I really like Killing Joke, and I just was feeling this album at the time. I really like the song Lanterns a lot. Very much like kind of like almost like it reminds me of like a bunch of guys sitting at the bar and just like, singing happy songs despite being miserable. I guess that's the whole album kind of, and I guess somewhat some of Killing Joke in a nutshell, but I really do. Yeah, I love this album. That should be it. I mean, I put stickers on here, as you can see. Teenage Bottle Rocket. I did order from Interpunk a lot back in the day before they became, kind of not a good company to order from. You got your Addict sticker, Suicide Machines. Just have a lot of stuff in here. Bad Religion, Weezer. Of course, I went over this already. NoFX, Bad Religion, Pup, Orange. It's another underrated band. Pennywise, Good Riddance, Dan Vapid and the Cheats. I would check them out too. Yeah, a Tom DeLonge sticker. But yeah, that's kind of what I got going on right now. So yeah, have a good day.